There is a forest outside our town that should not exist. Botanists have come to study it. 200 acres of oak and maple on a hill that was bare rock and thin soil for 100 years. They ask how it got there, and we tell them the truth, and they never quite believe it. It got there because an 84-year-old woman got up every morning before the sun and planted one tree every day, with 2 shaking hands. She knew she would never sit under a single one of them. The whole town thought she had lost her mind. I know better than anyone what the town thought, because I was the one who laughed at her. To understand the trees, you have to understand the dance. Rosie married Frank in the spring of 1962 in the little stone church that still stands on Chestnut Street. He was a factory man, hands like leather gloves, a laugh you could hear across a field. She was the only person in the county who could out-stubborn him, and he loved her for it until his last breath. They never had much. A small house Frank built himself, board by board, on the road below the bare hill, a vegetable garden, and a transistor radio on the kitchen counter that played every evening while supper cooked. That radio mattered, because every evening for 41 years, Frank would wipe his hands, hold one out, and say the same 4 words. "Care to dance, Miss Rosie?" And they would dance in that little kitchen, badly, magnificently, while the potatoes boiled over. 41 years of evenings. Then, one October, Frank's heart finished its work quietly in the night, and the radio went silent. They buried him where he'd asked to be buried, up on the bare hill above the house he built. "Best view in the county," he always said. "Shame there's no shade." Rosie stood at that grave, 84 years old, and the town watched her and worried. The doctor told her to rest. Her children begged her to move to the city, somewhere with people, somewhere with help. Rosie went to the feed store instead, and she bought a sack of seedlings. I was 19 that spring, and I knew everything, the way only a 19-year-old can. Our farm sat along the road she walked each morning. Sunrise, wool coat, shovel over her shoulder like a soldier's rifle. Seedlings in a bucket. Up the hill, one hole, one tree, one patted down mound of earth. Then she'd sit on the ground beside Frank's stone, catch her breath, and tell him about it. We could see her lips moving from the road. And one morning, leaning on our fence with all my 19 years of wisdom, I called out the words I have spent a lifetime trying to unsay. "Rosie, you're 84. You'll never live to see those trees grow." She didn't even stop walking. She just smiled down into the dirt, like it was an old friend sharing the joke, and said, "They're not for me, dear." I laughed. I want you to know that I laughed. Some of the men at the feed store took bets on how many weeks she'd last at it. The kindest people in town called it grief, said it would pass. It did not pass. She planted through the summer heat, with a wet cloth around her neck. She planted through autumn rains that turned the hill to mud. When winter locked the ground, she spent the season in her kitchen, the radio playing again now, quietly, growing seedlings in tin cans on every windowsill, ready for the thaw. The first year, the hill had 100 small green flags on it. The second year, 300. And somewhere in the third year, something in the town began to turn. It started small. The feed store stopped charging her for seedlings. Spillage, the owner wrote in his book. The school bus began slowing on the hill road so the children could count the new trees out the window. And I, 19 turning 21, and quieter about my wisdom now, found myself one Saturday walking up that hill with my father's spade. Not because anyone asked, She didn't say a word about the fence. She just pointed at a patch of ground and said, "That one's yours then. Dig it deep." Her hands got slower. The lines got deeper. On her last birthday, her 91st, she planted her tree in the morning like it was any other day, and the whole town knew by then to let her. By the end, the count in the feed store ledger said 4,200 trees. She never once counted them herself. She was gone by the following spring, quietly, in the night, the same way Frank went. And the town buried her exactly where you already know, on the hill, beside her husband, beneath the very first oak she ever planted. It was tall enough by then to throw shade over them both. Best view in the county. Shade at last. We tell stories like Rosie's every week on this channel, about the quiet ones the world overlooked. If that's your kind of story, subscribe and take a seat. There's always room. 60 years is a long time, and it is also nothing at all. The children who counted trees from the school bus grew up and grew old, and the forest grew with them. It cooled the whole valley. It brought back birds nobody had heard since their grandparents' time. The county tried 3 times to give it an official name: Memorial Forest, Heritage Woods, some committee word, and it never stuck, because everyone for 40 miles already called it the only thing it could ever be called: Rosie's Trees. On warm Sunday afternoons, the parking lot at the bottom of the hill fills up. Families walk the paths. Young people get married in the clearing near the top. There's a waiting list, and children fall asleep on picnic blankets in the shade of oaks planted by 2 shaking hands, by a woman who knew exactly what she was doing and exactly who it was for. On the oldest oak, the one over Rosie and Frank, somebody long ago carved 4 words into the bark. Nobody ever confessed to the carving, and nobody ever sanded it off. Rosie's Trees. Sit a while. I told you at the start that I laughed at her. Here is the rest of my confession. I never left this town. The year after we buried Rosie, the county needed somebody to look after the young forest, clear the deadfall, protect the saplings, mind the paths. I took the job before they finished describing it. I have kept it for the rest of my life. I am old now myself, older than Rosie was the morning I shouted at her from the fence. I have spent 60 years tending trees another person planted, and I want to tell you what I learned up there on that hill, because it is the only wisdom I have that's worth your time. Every important thing in your life, every road, every school, every shade tree, every freedom, every kindness that reached you, was planted by somebody who knew they might never sit under it. We live our whole lives in other people's shade. The only honest way to say thank you is to pick up a shovel. Yesterday, my granddaughter drove me up the hill road. There were children asleep under the big oak, and a young couple planting something near the east path. I couldn't see what, and it doesn't matter what. And my granddaughter asked me the question you might be asking now. Didn't it make me sad that Rosie never saw any of this? I told her what I believe with my whole heart, that Rosie saw it the entire time. Every morning, down in the dirt, with 2 shaking hands, she was the only one of us who could see it. She wasn't planting trees, you understand. She was planting this. If somebody planted something in your life, a tree, a lesson, a kindness you're still living in the shade of, tell us about them in the comments below. Say their name. Stories like theirs deserve to outlive us all. And if you're of a mind to plant something yourself this week, something you may never sit under, well, dig it deep.